Hi everyone, my name is Alex Holt. I'm a school psychologist through MFNERC. Thank you for joining us for part 5 of our series on emotions and the brain. Today we're talking about co-regulation strategies. So as a reminder, we have put out 4 videos in the series so far, so please take a look at those if you haven't already before watching this one. In our latest video, we talked about emotion regulation, which is our ability to effectively manage our emotions. And we talked about how learning often relies on having managed and regulated emotions, and how adults have a role in developing this skill through co-regulation strategies. So we're going to be talking about the co-regulation strategies more today. The 3 strategies we'll talk about are name it to tame it, connect and redirect, and move it or lose it. So all of these strategies came from the Whole Brain Child book, which is on the side of the screen. That's written by Dr. Dan Siegel and Dr. Tina Payne Bryson. So it's an excellent resource, and the majority of content came from there. So if you're looking to find out more information, that would be a great place to start. So a general theme in co-regulation strategies is that we are focused on understanding and connecting with the emotions of the student. So basically the emotions that are underlying and driving the situation and the behavior we are seeing. So we're trying to understand, where is this situation and this behavior coming from? This often results in us validating emotions, but not necessarily behavior. So we all have emotions and all of them are okay to experience. So it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be happy, all of the above. However, it's not always okay to show those emotions in certain ways. So for instance, if a child is feeling really angry and they punch someone in the face, we might say it's okay to feel angry, but it's not okay to punch someone in the face. So what are some other ways we can deal with our anger? And then that's when we might work with the student a bit on that. So as I talked about in our last video, these are skills that need to be taught. So just a reminder, this isn't always intuitive. And because they are skills to be taught, they need to be done consistently if we're going to see results. So just because we try this once, it might not necessarily work. That doesn't mean we have to give up. It means we should probably be trying it consistently before we're trying something else and moving on. So for setting the stage of all co-regulation activities, I would recommend going low and slow. So what this means is staying nearby, sitting down at the child level so we're not as intimidating standing over them. It includes reducing our language use, as well as avoiding any kind of threats or commands. So once a child has flipped their lid, they can't access this thinking part of their brain. So language often isn't the most effective strategy. And if we are threatening and commanding a child to do something, often we're just setting them further into survival mode. And so again, it's not the most effective strategy, and it might actually make things more difficult in terms of calming and regulating with that child. So what I would recommend is to monitor your tone of voice and body language. If you don't do anything else, this is what I would do. If you're not sure what to say, just being with that child in that moment and ensuring safety, reminding them they're not alone in this emotion, goes a long way. So the first specific strategy we'll talk about is name it to tame it. So this is noticing and naming emotions. Essentially, it's providing words to describe the situation. Our brains have a drive to make sense of a situation. So we'll often keep reviewing it until it makes sense to us. If we can give words and a label to describe that situation, it helps the child make sense of it. It also engages their prefrontal cortex, so their ego thinking brain, rather than their emotional brain. It also makes the situation a little less scary. So I like this quote: anything that is mentionable can be more manageable. So once we label it and we know what it is, we can find ways of managing and dealing with that. So these are just 4 different ways, kind of things we might say in practice to follow this name it to tame it. So I bet that was scary for you. The worries are really taking over today. I see your fist is clenched. It looks like you might be angry. I can see from your face that made you feel sad. So in all cases, we're pointing out the emotions you notice. And in some cases, we're even pointing out the physical signs that tell us that child is feeling an emotion. So I see your fist is clenched. It looks like you might be angry, is pointing out what shows us they're feeling that emotion. When you're saying these statements, you can also follow it by saying, is that right? Does that make sense to you? So it's leaving it open to interpretation, that if you misinterpreted that emotion, which is bound to happen, the child has the space to correct you if needed. So the second strategy we'll talk about is connect and redirect. So there's two parts to this. So the first is this connection. So this includes connecting emotionally with someone. So listening and echoing back what you hear with empathy before anything else. So I'm going to show a clip quickly. It's from Brene Brown, and she just talks about the difference between empathy and sympathy. And I think this is really relevant for that connection piece.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So that clip really emphasizes that need to connect first. However, a second part of this strategy is, once we've taken that time to connect and acknowledge emotions, it's redirecting with logical explanations and planning. So maybe moderating the child's choice in that moment. So this is an example right from the Whole Brain Child book. So the child says, Mom, you never leave me a note in the middle of the night, and I hate homework. Mom says, what are you doing out of bed? Go back to your room. I don't want to see you again until morning. So we could think of this as command and demand. So she's kind of dismissing what he's feeling. Connect and redirect would look something like this. So the child says the same thing. Mom, you never leave me a note in the middle of the night, and I hate homework. The mom gets down at his level and she says, I get frustrated about things like that too. Want me to leave you a note tonight? And I've got some ideas about homework, but it's late now, so let's talk more tomorrow. So she's validating he's getting frustrated, and she gets that, but it's not the time to come up with ideas around homework. And so she's redirecting him to looking at that at a time that's more suitable. So the last strategy we're going to talk about is move it or lose it. So research shows that when we change our physical state, either through movement or relaxation, for example, we can change our emotional state. So emotions often actually begin in the body. So we might have tense shoulders, butterflies in our stomachs. So these are physical signs that send signals up to our brain before we might even consciously notice what we're feeling. So Move It to Lose It is all about releasing that tension and that energy through movement. So some examples could be running, jumping, skipping, stretching. Go Noodle is an excellent website on YouTube. They have lots of different movement break clips. I recommend checking it out if you haven't before. As well as a deep breathing exercise is another great example of a relaxation technique. I would say regardless of what you do, I would try variety, and I would try different things to see what your child likes and what they find to be helpful. So try exercises when your child or teen is more settled, and then ask them how they feel before, during, and after. It'll give you an idea of what they find calming, what they find energizing, because we often need a combination of those two things if we think about upregulating and downregulating our emotions. So to end off our video today, I'm going to show a short clip from the movie Inside Out. It's a Pixar movie. If you haven't seen it before, it's an excellent way to talk about emotions with children. I like this example because it shows what co-regulation can look like in practice. So we're going to watch Sadness comfort Bing Bong. So Sadness is with the blue hair and Bing Bong is the big elephant pink guy here.
Oh, the stuffed animal Hall of Fame! My rocket! Wait, Riley and I were still using that rocket. It still has some song power left. Who's your friend who likes to play? No, you can't take my rocket to the top. Riley and I going to the moon. Riley can't be done with me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
I had a whole trip planned for us.
Hey, who's ticklish, huh? Here comes the tickle monster. Hey, Bing Bong, look at this. Oh, here's a fun game. You point to the train station and we all go there. Won't that be fun? Come on, let's go to the train station.
I'm sorry they took your rocket. They took something that you loved. It's gone. Forever.
Sadness. Don't make him feel worse.
Sorry.
It's all I had left of Riley.
I bet you and Riley had great adventures.
Oh, they were wonderful. Once we flew back in time. We had breakfast twice that day.
Sadness.
It sounds amazing. I bet Riley liked it.
Oh, she did. We were best friends.
Yeah, it's sad.
I'm okay now. Come on. The train station is this way.
How did you do that?
I don't know. He was sad, so I listened to what...
Hey! There's the train!
Okay, so we'll end the clip there. I just love how Sadness gets right down at his level, notices, names his emotions, provides comfort, and by doing that, she's actually able to move him on to the next thing faster than the other individual whose name is Joy, who just tried to kind of distract him and rush him through that emotion. So it leaves the message that providing that space for connection helps us in the long term move on with our day and on to the next thing. So that brings us to the end. In our next video, Erin will speak about holistic wellness and adult self-care. So thank you again for joining us.